Well, right now on News 4 at 6, panic at an assisted living facility after a 94-year-old man started shooting. Now Buffalo police are asking, how did he get a gun? A look at the investigation tonight.
And while it's just hazy over downtown, we are going to see some fog overnight tonight, tracking a chance for a few showers and thunderstorms later tomorrow, but they are likely to be targeted. Latest coming up.
Plus, so many bad roads and not enough money to fix them all. And according to the Erie County's Department of Public Works Commissioner, that's the bottom line. We take a closer look tonight at the silent tax, where the money comes from and why some say it's not working.
Well, developing tonight, a 94-year-old man is in custody after police say he fired a handgun inside the assisted living facility where he lived.
And that shot just missed a maintenance worker at the Mary Agnes Manor on the city's west side. That's just blocks from Duville College. News 4's Marissa Perlman is here to break down what happened. Marissa.
Don, there are questions from police tonight. How and why did this 94-year-old man have access to a .38 caliber handgun? And now an AMR paramedic is being credited with preventing this situation from becoming worse. The bullet hit a wall on the 9th floor of the facility on Porter Avenue. That paramedic wrestled the gun away from the man and held him down until police arrived. Now, Mary Agnes Manor is an assisted living facility that specializes in care for people with dementia and Alzheimer's disease. Tonight, police are not releasing the identity of this 94-year-old resident, but we do know he's been living there for several years. It's not clear if he has any history of violence. Police tell us he was on his way to get a psych evaluation at ECMC this morning when he resisted and the situation turned violent.
The male paramedic was closest to him and is the one that grabbed him, subdued him, got the gun away from him, and hung on to him until we could get her. We are in the process now of figuring out who actually owns the gun and then, again, how we possibly got the gun stored away. Right now, our concern is to make sure he doesn't have any other weapons in his room in the facility.
Police say it's also not clear whether the manor allows its residents to own firearms. And this just into our newsroom tonight from the Buffalo Police Department. We have learned they have charged this 94-year-old man with attempted murder, something we'll be following up with tonight. We did reach out to the assisted living facility for comment and have not yet heard back. Marissa Perlman, News 4 at 6.
And Buffalo police are investigating after a man was shot and killed overnight on Northumberland Avenue. Police say the 20-year-old man was shot while inside a car, and then that car crashed. The victim died at the scene. If you have any information about this case, you are asked to call the confidential tip line at 847-2255.
A Buffalo mother faced a judge today. She's charged with manslaughter in the death of her 2-year-old son. That's the same charge her boyfriend is also facing. The toddler died last week from blunt force injuries, and the district attorney believes he was shaken and beaten.
The child's mother, Kiana Owens, waived her right to a felony hearing today. News 4's Jen Shantz was in court. She tells us what's next in this case. Jen?
Well, the case now goes before a grand jury who will decide if there's enough evidence to support criminal charges. When we first reported on the death of 2-year-old Xavion Hazard, it was just Owens' boyfriend, Bashar Hall, facing charges. Days later, she was in handcuffs too. Owens will remain in custody for the time being. We spoke with her shortly after her boyfriend, Bashar Hall, was arrested. She told us she believed this was all an accident and also told us her son hit his head. There were 2 other children at the home when this alleged incident occurred, both of them infants. Those children were then taken by CPS. It's still unclear exactly what led up to the toddler's death or why police believe Owens is also at fault.
Based on our homicide detectives continuing their investigation, looking at all the evidence that was collected in that case, in consultation with the DA's office, it was warranted that she be charged as well in that case.
Bashar Hall was also in court earlier this week. He waived his felony hearing. His case, too, will be presented to a grand jury. Xavion's cause of death was blunt force injuries, but other autopsy details have not been released yet. Depending on what evidence is presented to a grand jury, both Hall's and Owens' charge of first-degree manslaughter could be bumped up to a murder charge. That would indicate that both of them had intent to kill. Jen Shantz, News 4 at 6.
Well, county lawmakers are asking for answers from the Erie County Sheriff's Office after a new report on the death of a former inmate. State corrections officials say the death of India Cummings should be ruled a homicide.
Some lawmakers are now talking about adding new laws to change county corrections. As News 4's Chris Servatis tells us, they're looking for information from the sheriff today.
India Cummings spent a couple of weeks here at the Erie County Holding Center in February of 2016. She left on the 17th of that month and died 4 days later at Buffalo General Hospital. Now, after a state report recommended that death should be ruled a homicide, Erie County lawmakers are asking questions. And the sheriff has a question of his own.
My opening statement is more in the line of a question, and it is why are you, or possibly this committee, so willing to accept as true nothing more than the opinion of the Commission of Corrections.
We are adhering and considering the findings of this report. The purpose of this meeting is to open dialogue about what the procedures are.
Erie County Sheriff Tim Howard left shortly after making that statement and hearing that response. He didn't personally answer any questions. A sheriff spokesperson said he had a personal matter to attend to. Instead, Jail Superintendent Tom Dina did most of the talking.
I wouldn't use the word reform, but we review our policies regularly, and we are always looking to improve upon them, enhance them.
The state report notes Cummings died of cardiac arrest caused by acute renal failure. It said had Cummings received adequate care while in jail, her death would have been prevented. It also recommended that the legislature conduct a comprehensive review and services plan. Cummings supporters, hoping for answers on her death, would have left the meeting disappointed. The county's lawyer said they couldn't go into details because of a pending lawsuit filed by her family.
It just as a matter of course, I've advised each of the department heads not to get into the specifics of the India Cummings matter.
The legislature does meet tomorrow and then goes on recess through the month of August. Legislator April Baskin told me she plans on working on a reform package during the recess and presenting it to her fellow lawmakers. Reporting downtown, Chris Servatis, News 4.
Every year, we hear it, not enough money to fix our roads. You might be surprised to know how Erie County funds some of its road projects.
The question is, are you getting what you paid for? News 4's Luke Moretti takes a closer look at what some call a silent tax.
Welcome to Bullis Road in Elma.
It's in absolutely terrible shape.
Something Bob and Marie Janis know all too well.
It's been getting worse and worse every year.
This section is riddled with potholes.
We're waiting for an accident to happen.
He isn't kidding. Watch what happens as we interview Erie County legislator Joseph Larigo along Bullis Road. At one point, a vehicle travels in the middle of the road to avoid potholes and then gets back in the right lane just in time as oncoming traffic approaches.
One of the most visible things that people can look at to say their government's doing a good job is the infrastructure. And as you can see here in Elma and Erie County, it looks terrible.
It's just one example of roads that need attention. The problem, according to Department of Public Works Commissioner Bill Geary, is money.
We're stretching dollars in a lot of cases.
You won't get much sympathy from the real estate industry.
You can't put any more burden on a home seller.
About half of the money that Erie County receives and uses for road improvements each year comes from what's known as a transfer tax.
People aren't aware of it. They don't understand it.
Here's how it works. When property is sold, the seller gets hit with a transfer tax rate of $4.50 for every $500. $2 goes to the state, and $2.50 goes to Erie County. The county's end, just from the transfer tax, added up to around $13 million last year. It's money that's dedicated for road improvements.
We use every bit of that that's budgeted.
Admittedly, Geary says the transfer tax, along with state and federal funding, are not enough to cover all of the county's road and bridge needs year to year.
We're looking at about $25 million in a program that we need probably $50 to $60 million to maintain that massive infrastructure.
Realtor Margaret Hartman says the transfer tax eats away at the equity sellers have built up.
Sellers don't know it's a silent tax.
A tax, she says, that can add up quickly when it comes time to close on the property.
On a $263,000 home, it's over $2,300 that people did not count on paying. And $2,300 could have taken them 1 year to make in equity.
And I'm sure when people find out that the transfer tax money is supposed to go for roads and then they look at the condition of the county roads, they're in shock.
Certainly, Bob and Marie Janis aren't happy with the condition of Bullis Road here in Elma. Do they think they're getting bang for the tax buck?
Not hardly. No.
Marie says it's the worst it's been over the 30 years they've lived here.
They kept it up for a while when we first moved in, and after that it just went downhill.
Do you think people are getting what they pay for, essentially, like when they have to pay this tax versus the conditions of some of the roads?
Well, I think if you look across the country, road conditions are trending down. There's not enough money in any budget for that. We typically ask for well above what we get.
When you hear the money issue being branded as an excuse, it really is more of a discussion of priorities.
No matter what the priorities, nothing changes the fact that property sellers get dinged up with a transfer tax, which in Erie County's case goes directly to fixing roads.
There's enough burden on a home seller or a property seller. It's commercial property as well. You can't go to this well to fix our highways. You're going to need to find someplace else to fix our highways.
I wouldn't advocate for more taxes. Obviously, we're taxed pretty heavily in New York State, but we definitely need to find ways to step outside of the norm and be able to address some of our infrastructure issues.
Well, just days after we interviewed Bob and Marie Janis, the county announced that a section of Bullis Road, which passes by their home, would get fixed this summer. Bill Geary says it's going to happen and that the county would have gotten to it sooner if not for other road and bridge projects given priority. We'll keep you posted. Luke Moretti, News 4.
All right, thank you, Luke. And if you have a tip you'd like News 4 to investigate, you can call our tip line at 879-4847 or send us an email to investigates@wivb.com. Next on News 4 at 6, a big dog that's making a big difference. Meet the canine who's giving some puppy love to patients at Children's Hospital.
And fire up the fryers and bring your appetite. We're getting a look at the new foods coming to the Erie County Fair this year. We'll show you some of the unusual items you can get your hands on.